So about 6 weeks ago, I decided I was going to buy a DJI. I'd seen it at NAB, I'd seen some of the videos that came out, and I thought it was something that I really wanted to try and experiment with. And I looked into both the option with the GoPro and the DJI Phantom 2 Vision Plus, which is the one that I ended up going for. Now I could see that the quality of the image from the GoPro was going to be better than what I could get with the Vision Plus, but it was about double the cost and I had no experience flying this thing. I had no idea whether I was going to like it or not. And I still thought that I was going to be able to get something that was reasonable, particularly for the work that I'm doing for the web, that it was going to be fine for what I needed it for at this point. And I'm mainly working in the video journalism field, so being able to grade and all the other stuff was not so important for me. Now, my first experience taking it out of the box was how quick it is to take it out and get going immediately. I mean, literally, when the box arrives, you can unpack it, pick it out, and within an hour or so, you can have it up in the sky, start flying. It's really simple. It comes out of the box. You attach a phone to it once it's out of the box. You need to obviously charge stuff up. That takes a little bit of time. Put the propellers on, and then you can take it out and get flying. Now, one thing that I learned very quickly is that to work with something like this, you have to think about like learning to drive a new car rather than just going out and shooting with a new camera. There's lots of potential dangers, and we'll talk a little bit more about one of them later on. When you start with these things, that they're not just things that you can take out. You need to find an empty car park with nobody in it and start playing around with it, because they can crash quite easily. If you're around people, they could be potentially dangerous, particularly if you're around kids who love to come swarming towards them, I found when I was trying it out in the park. But with the DJI, you don't have to do anything else than take it out of the box, put your phone on it, download the app, and you're up and flying. Now, the great advantage of the DJI Vision Plus is that you can see what you're shooting. And if I just fire this on right now, I've got a screen grab from what I did earlier on today. And in the field of view, I can see exactly what I'm shooting. I can decide whether I'm going to shoot a still picture or a video. I can start and stop both of those. I'm still controlling it with the main controllers, but I get a first-person view, as they call it, of what I'm shooting without any additional setup, without having to worry about anything else. Plus, I have all of the information that I need to fly. I can see how high it is, I can see where it is, and if I want to, I can click a little button in the corner here, and I see whereabouts it is. And quite early on in my flying experience, I lost it. I was so glued to the picture that I was getting. I turned around, looked up in the sky, and I couldn't see it anywhere. It was quite a cloudy day. And at that point, I just need to click this button once. I can find it, I can turn it round and bring it back, because you've got to know which direction it's pointing in as well. If it's pointing towards you, then right is left and left is right. If it's pointing obviously away from you, it's the opposite, and all sorts of variations. So being able to see this directly on this screen, bring it back. It has safety warnings when your battery gets low, and it can tell you all sorts of other information as you go along. So the other great thing about the app is that you're able to control the camera not only in terms of the settings that you set, that is your ISO, your exposure, etc., your color balance. You can also adjust the pitch of the camera through just rotating the unit itself. So as you move the unit up or down, again, the camera tilts at the same time. Now, I found this to be a little bit unstable. It's difficult to get a really smooth shot doing it, but you can do it manually as well, just by tapping on the phone and moving the camera up and down. This is a really nice function because it means that you don't have to have a fixed point of view as you go up and flying. You put it up there, and then you can not only rotate the camera left or right, but you can rotate it up and down by using this function on the phone. So when I was doing my research for when I was going to buy this device, I looked at the GoPro and the DJI Vision Plus, as I said. Now, the great thing about this camera, as I said, it comes straight out of the box, but it's much smaller, and it has a 3-axis gimbal built in. There's no additional build that you have to do as you would do if you go for the GoPro option. So about 3 weeks ago, I had my first opportunity to take it on an assignment. I was being sent down to the south of China, to Guangxi province, which is a beautiful area and perfect for flying a quadcopter. Not many people, but some fantastic landscapes. I had 2 days with a reporter working on a story, and I decided to extend for another 2 days when I can just fly and try and experiment a little bit. Now, I wasn't sure if the image was going to be good enough for broadcast, but I was going to have a chance to do some extra stuff for the web, and I thought it'd be worth trying it out. Now, into the first day, I had a lot of success early on in the day, flying it in all sorts of places, including a cave and down rivers and some beautiful landscapes. At the end of the first day, I was flying it, had about 15 minutes flight. I was bringing it back. It was alarming, telling me the battery was running down. And as I was bringing it down, it suddenly went into this crazy spin and dropped out of the sky about 50 meters down into a river. Now, it stayed in the river overnight. I hired some local fishermen to try and dig it out, and I got a call the next morning to say that they had found it 12 hours underwater. And fortunately, the disc was still working quite remarkably, considering it doesn't really have any sort of a waterproof housing across the disc. Unfortunately, the DJI wasn't working, and so I brought it back and I started doing some research. Now, I found out recently that I think the cause was something called a vortex ring state, which is something that happens to a lot of helicopters, or it's something that happens with helicopters when it descends too quickly. Now, I've been back through the user manual, and there's no mention of this. There's no mention of telling you to go at any particular speed, but we have contacted DJI since, and they have told us that they have corrected this. So the way that DJI has addressed the vortex state ring, this is this phenomenon when it just kind of falls out of the sky if you're coming down too fast or it's too windy, is that they've reduced the descent speed. So now with the firmware upgrade, you're limited to only 2 meters a second, whereas before I think you could probably go up to 10 meters a second. So if you have the new firmware, the unit is not going to allow you to descend at a speed that is going to possibly put you in this state. If you have a DJI that you bought before the end of April, which is when the firmware was updated, I actually bought mine at the beginning of May, so even if you bought it early, it still might not have the latest firmware on it. It's important that you check this, because this is obviously something that can happen to anyone and without actually knowing from the instructions. And also that DJI won't compensate you for it, that I tried both the US and the Chinese support services. I did get a 20% discount on my new one. That said, I have been really impressed with what I've been able to do with it. And fortunately, as I know this has now been corrected, I'm hoping that I won't have that issue again. But there are a lot of safety issues, and this is one that you should bear in mind, that these things can fall out of the sky, particularly when you're learning how to fly them until you become really kind of understand all the things that could go wrong. And so flying them over people is something that I would highly recommend you avoid, or in any kind of crowded space or any place where it could do damage if it fell straight out of the sky, because for this experience I had no idea it was going to come, and I lost my last day of shooting as a result of it. Though, as I say, overall I'm really pleased with it. I mean, I ended up paying for a new one. I got 20% discount. As I said, DJI gave me a 20% discount on another one. But I had become so addicted to it and realized, you know, that this is something that you just can't, you could never have imagined. I've been working in this business for over 20 years now, and hiking up and trying to get that high shot at the top of a building or at the top of a mountain where you can look down has been just something that we've had to do. But now to be able to think that you can put a camera anywhere in the sky and be able to shoot down and shoot the establishing shot that you kind of dreamed of, is just quite remarkable, as well as doing all these wonderful movements and other things that you can do with it. I think I will, once I get the hang of this, and I still need probably a fair bit more time flying before I feel really confident, I probably will upgrade to the GoPro, or hopefully DJI may bring out a better camera. That would be best, because without the functionality that you have with this one that comes out of the box, again, I need a little bit more time to learn, and I don't really feel as confident. A lot of people are telling me that if you're serious about video, you shouldn't really be thinking about the Vision Plus. You should go straight for the GoPro. And I've seen, obviously, a lot of videos online that demonstrate the potential. Now, as far as I understand, the difference between the two is the fact that the DJI does not have ProTune, which means the flexibility in the image that you get that comes out is pretty limited. You can't grade it very easily, you can't push it around, you can't adjust the exposure very easily. That said, when you are flying it, you can do that as you're flying. So you do get a picture of what you're getting, and at that point in time, I can change my exposure, I can make it darker or lighter, I can change my color balance, I can change my ISO setting. These are all things that I can do as I'm flying, which I believe would be very difficult to do with the GoPro. The other great advantage for me is still images, because this shoots a raw image. If you're a still shooter, I'd really still go for this, because the stills that I've got out of this are quite remarkable as a raw image. The raw image does take about 1 second to process, so once you press, you don't sort of have a chance to shoot many images very quickly. But I mean, normally in this situation, you're up in the sky, you can compose your image, you can move it around till you get exactly what you want, and then press the raw image. And the images that I've been getting out of this are really quite stunning. So, it depends on what you want, but you're looking at about half the price by the time you get the same functionality for the GoPro as you do for the Vision Plus. And the Vision Plus, well, it's not bad, and it's a great start. So overall, I'm pretty well hooked on the DJI experience, though I've been burnt from the fact that I hadn't done enough research maybe beforehand, or maybe they should have put it in the manual to tell me not to do that, or maybe I should have just upgraded my firmware sooner.